Hey guys, Coach Hugh here.
Coach James.
Today we're talking about intermittent fasting, what intermittent fasting is, why it can be beneficial, who it's for, who it's not for, and if it's going to fit your lifestyle.
So we just wanted to kick things off really, what is IF, what is intermittent fasting? Now intermittent fasting is typically what we call a 16-8 protocol, where you're going to go for a period of time, so 16 hours in this instance, without food. So you're going to fast over a 16-hour window. Then you're going to have an 8-hour eating or refeed window, which is going to make up the remainder of your day. So Hugh and I both follow what we call the 16-8 protocol, and what we personally do is we fast all the way around to midday from when we wake up. We then eat from midday round to 8 p.m. and we fast again for that remaining 16 hours that takes us back round again to midday the following day.
Okay, so looking at meal spacing now, for example, if you're doing a 9 to 5 job, this fits that quite well with eating at 12 o'clock midday, maybe having a smaller meal around 3-4 p.m. and then your last meal about 7-8 p.m. It doesn't have to be on the dot. If you go 5 minutes over that 8-hour window, it's not going to make a big difference. You just want to try and stay within that 8-hour window, generally speaking.
So you might be thinking now, why bother doing this? Who's it for? Well, Hugh and I are both here in the beautiful Bali, and it's something that's so powerful when you're traveling because it's a natural way of restricting your calories. If we have a smaller eating window, we're naturally going to have less time to eat calories. So by doing that, if you struggle with your appetite control or appetite regulation of total calories, then this is something that you want to look at.
It's also a great protocol for people that may have bigger evening meals. Maybe you have a family and maybe you're cooking. You tend to have big evening meals. Maybe you have a lot of work dues where you go out in the evening. It's especially beneficial at the weekend. So it still means that you can fit it around your lifestyle. You can go out, have a meal and a couple of pints with your mates and still get amazing results.
Other times it's really beneficial is if you really struggle with concentration in the morning. A lot of us wake up in the morning, we'll hammer a massive bowl of carbohydrate, whether that's through really poor quality cereals, whether it's toast, whether it's porridge, and we find ourselves feeling really drowsy a couple of hours later again. If you want to increase your productivity in the morning and you feel really good on less food and maybe doing what we're doing right here, which Hugh's going to talk about in a second, you will see your productivity skyrocket, your concentration is going to be dialed in. So if you've got big tasks to do in the morning, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in the corporate world, whatever you do and you need to be focused, this could be a great choice for you.
So yeah, talking about appetite. So one of the questions that I get all the time about intermittent fasting is, how can you go 6 hours or maybe 4 or 5 hours without any food and not feel hungry, especially after going through that overnight period of sleep where you've not eaten. So one thing that's really powerful is coffee. So just having a black coffee is going to really help suppress your appetite. Caffeine is a natural appetite suppressant, which means it's going to stop you from feeling hungry. Even if you wake up feeling hungry, you have a cup of coffee, those kind of food cravings go away. So what I generally recommend is between 1 and 3 cups. This really depends on your caffeine tolerance. If you're someone that gets a big buzz off caffeine, 1 cup will probably do it. If you're like myself and you find that caffeine doesn't have a big effect, then you can probably go to 2, maybe 3 cups. And again, this is a really good way of timing it with your workout. If you do a lunchtime workout, we tend to train mid-morning. This is a really good way of timing this caffeine for your performance benefit.
So intermittent fasting is often sort of targeted as the holy grail of fat loss, and this is why a lot of people do it. Now I just want to make this really clear. You still have to be in a calorie deficit whilst doing this. So intermittent fasting does have health benefits. It can be seen as like a systemic reset for the body. There's so many studies out there showing basically increase in testosterone and human growth hormone, all of these things. But ultimately, if you're doing it for a fat loss effect or a fat loss protocol, you've got to remain in the calorie deficit. Otherwise, you overeat, you're still going to gain weight regardless of that eating window that you're in.
100%. And one thing that we were talking about before this was the myth of the effect on muscle. So Do you want to just talk about that, James?
Yeah, so there's often this belief that if we go too long without food, then our muscles are going to start breaking down. We're going to enter that process of catabolism. Now, here's the thing with this. Your body is unbelievably clever. If you just cast your mind back to maybe 10,000 years ago, how humans lived, we went a very long period of time without food. We may have only eaten 1 meal in 1 day, then we would have fasted, we would have slept, we'd have walked around, we'd have done our things, and then we'd have eaten again. So the body is actually built on the premise that we're not going to have food every 2-3 hours. And it's a complete myth where your body's going to start breaking down, because you have so much stored energy reserves in your muscle tissue, in your liver. There's glycogen stored here, which is going to be able to fuel your body. The other thing that we also see is that you believe that your metabolism is going to slow down. Now, we know for fat loss that we want to keep our metabolism as high as possible. Now, the belief is if I don't eat, because eating does raise your metabolic rate, then what's going to happen is it's going to slow down. But here's the thing, whether you eat one massive meal of say 2,000 calories in one go, compared to split those 2,000 calories over 6 meals as a typical sort of bro bodybuilding split, you're still going to have the overall same effect on your metabolic rate. It just evens out. So instead of it being small little increases by 6 meals, it's just going to be one huge increase. So it's the same thing regardless if you split those meals down or you have them in one big meal.
I was going to talk about the benefits now of the meal structure. So say for example we're eating at 12, 4 and 8 p.m. What we want to do is try and have 2 smaller meals and 1 big meal. It's really beneficial to have your big meal at the end of the day. Again, this works really well around lifestyle factors when we were talking about earlier, but this is also going to help you sleep. So if you're having a good amount of starchy carbohydrate in the evening, those higher GI carbohydrates, if you are having sugary foods, that tends to be quite good later on in the day. That's going to really benefit your sleep. It also means you're going to be storing that carbohydrate overnight as energy in your muscle tissue, so if you're training the next day before you've eaten, you still have those reserves of energy. You're not going to be completely depleted. You're not going to be training feeling flat and low on energy.
Yeah, just the last thing on training, if you are super worried about this whole muscle breaking down thing, you are able to have things like branched chain amino acids before you train. Now, branched chain amino acids are basically what make up protein molecules. Now, if you are someone who's well fed and you're having protein every 3 hours, there's no need to have these in your diet. But if you are going that long period of time without them and you are so worried and maybe you've got a super intense training session before you break your fast, then by all means supplement yourself with some BCAAs, whether that's in liquid form, powdered form, and you can also get them in tablet form as well. And that's just going to make sure you cover your bases before a really intense training session.
That's great. I hope you've enjoyed this training. And if you have any questions, make sure you comment and ask one of us.
Thank you very much.